Hey up YouTube, yes, third party review today. If you saw my haul video from last month, you saw that I picked up a certain Mastermind Creations figure that is proving to be very popular and a bit of a cult following, and yeah, so I wanted to get it because I got the other two figures from the subline that they've been doing, but I suggested that I'd like to do a third-party review on this guy, and one of my YouTubers, one of my subscribers, has asked me nicely to do a review on it, or said he wanted to do it, and it's good. So I am doing this review in response to that guy's request, because he's sort of, I don't know, he'd kind of gone off the boil a bit with his Transformer collecting. He got to a point where he was collecting too many bots, and it was getting a bit much for him, and he decided to step back, and he moved away from the Transformers again, but I'm hoping to get him back into it, even though he's not going to come back as as mad for it as he was before. But he knows who he is, James, and so yeah, third party review. I don't generally tend to do third party reviews because third party figures tend to have kind of complex transformations, which I don't like doing live on screen because they take too long. But this figure has got a ridiculously simple transformation. It is stupidly simple. And another thing, as this guy is so ingrained in the IDW comic continuity, I am going to be mentioning a few plot points from the IDW continuity comics as we go along from More Than Meets the Eye series. So if you're worried about spoilers and you haven't read More Than Meets the Eye, especially Dying of the Light, then switch off now. See ya, goodbye, because I will be probably getting into spoiler territory in this video. And you also noticed on the front of my video I've done a slightly different thumbnail today to what I usually do. The reason being, when I got this guy, I was so impressed with him, I took a sort of a picture with my mobile phone of him trying to take off his face mask, and I liked it so much I wanted to use it somewhere in the video, so I thought I'd do it as a slightly different thumbnail on the front of the video to what I usually do. So I hope you appreciate that. Anyway, the figure. Yes. Now, in the comics, in IDW, I mean, obviously they do characters that are known in the universe, but they've also, over the time, they've invented new characters that, as of yet, haven't got a toy or appeared in any of the cartoon series. None so than the Decepticon Justice Division. Yes, this group of Decepticon zealots who were created by Megatron to go after all the deserters and the Decepticons that have been deemed unworthy of carrying the badge and dispatched in the most gruesome, grisly way possible. And this is shown in their appearances in the comics, most notably their first appearance. I've sort of flicked through all the More Than Meets the Eye comics to note down where all the various important things happened. And yeah, is it issue 7 of More Than Meets the Eye where we get introduced to the DJD, where they take out Sky Shadow. So yeah, so you've got essentially 5 members. They are all under pseudonyms named after cities that were conquered by the Decepticons back in the day, and they are Voss, Kaon, Tazarus, and Helix, and of course Tarn, their leader. Now these are all, like I said, other Decepticons who were formed together into this team who had different names, but we're not going to get into that because again that's spoiler territory. So obviously a lot of people really like the Decepticon Justice Division. They've really gripped they really gripped the Transformer fandom, and they've got very much a cult following. And Mastermind Creations, as part of their reformatted line, decided they was going to bring us, toy variants of the characters. And so far, they've bought us Voss with Synicus, and they've bought us Kaon or Anarchus. Both these figures, they did them a while back. Very good figures. One transforms into a sniper rifle, the other one transforms into an electric chair, and you can also turn into a kind of like a robotic scorpion thing. But brilliant little figures. Very hard to get hold of now because obviously they were very popular when they came out. They were kind of pricey, especially Anarchus here, because he's very small, very skinny, but he has got a lot of parts, high parts count. And you know, if you didn't get one at the recommended retail price, and then it's, you know, he's having to pay scalper prices for it, and he goes for a small fortune on the aftermarket. And it's the same goes for this guy. I was fortunate enough to find somebody who was selling them at a decent price back in the day. I got them from my mate, Mr. Netclow, off eBay. And so, yeah, I managed to get hold of them. But obviously the next figure in the line is Tarn. And they've introduced him as Reformatted R-19 Kultur. And obviously this is his tank mode. Now, I've gone through the More Than Meets the Eye comics, and I've picked out various issues which featured the DJD and the Scavengers as well, because at one point the DJD and the Scavengers do cross paths and almost get destroyed by him, but only one Scavenger loses his life and the rest of them sort of get away because they get otherwise diverted by something else that happens. So this is Tarn's, or should I say Kultur's tank mode. And now in the comic, Tarn only transforms, as far as I can tell, twice into his tank mode. And the first time you see it, it's sort of like in half, the back end of half of a small panel, so you don't really get a good look at it. And then the one other time is when, so I'm trying to get a reference on these. Yeah, is it issue 52, Dying of the Light, where Megatron contacts Tarn and then goes to him to have a meeting to surrender to him, and then he's trying to explain why he basically turned into a good guy, and Tarn doesn't believe it and starts beating on him. Megatron won't fight back, and then all of a sudden Overlord comes in and wants a piece of Megatron as well, and then you've got Tarn and Overlord, you know, duking it out, trying to decide who it is going to get the chance to kill Megatron. And that's when you actually see Tarn transform into his tank mode. And the tank mode that's on the page and the tank mode that's in my hand, it's broadly similar. There are differences. These bits on the front aren't on the the comic model. There's some slight differences around here, and he has sort of shields that come around his tracks. But apart from that, it's pretty close to his tank mode. But as you don't see much of his tank mode, you know, I think you can get away with the fact that it isn't an accurate representation of the IDW, tank mode. But the bot mode is the reason why you buy this, and trust me, the bot mode it's beautiful, it's perfect. So here's tank mode. Obviously, you've got the turret. Now you can move the turret a little bit if you pull it up a little bit on the peg. You can sort of turn it round more, but when you push it down, it sort of locks into place. There's a little bit of movement on the double fusion cannons on the top. He also has these little things on the front, which on his tank mode in the comic, they're actually little extra laser guns on the front, but they're on these pivots. They pivot from side to side. They almost look like antennae on an insect. So there's that. And then you look all around, and it's a big, chunky, Cybertron-esque sort of tank. Got all that crap underneath. No wheels, so it doesn't roll. They haven't put any wheels on it, but that doesn't really matter because, I mean, let's face it, if you've got this, are you really going to be displaying it in this tank mode? I think not. So anyway, like I said, tank mode. Now, it's quite heavy. Size comparison, I haven't really got a vehicle I can compare it to. Before I get any further, the one thing I do want to say about this, obviously look at the box. Now he does come in quite a small box. So this guy's quite expensive. You know, he's generally over 100 quid, 105, 110 quid, depending on where you get it from. You can get it cheaper, but you know, you look at the eBay prices, the scalper prices this guy's going for, you're talking 120, 130 quid. And then this box arrives and you think, wow, you know, that's quite small, but you know, it's got the usual sort of Mastermind creations. As you can see, it's got shiny artwork on it. Quite a solid box. And inside you get Tarn. He comes in tank mode, and then you have to build up the turret, which is in sort of three pieces that pegs together. You've got like the actual turret itself and the two fusion cannons, the two little pegs that they peg together. And then there's a peg port on top of the tank where you peg it in like so. And then he does come with the instructions, which also has a bit of a comic in the front, as they do. And in this, Kultur he's kind of like a Cybertronian noble, and he's going to all these highfalutin sort of socialite events, and he's you know, posing as a well-to-do sort of like a lord. And then he's got this alter ego where he's like an underground sort of arms dealer, and he changes his colours, and he goes to this arms dealer and he's looking to buy some guns, and then the arms dealer sort of susses out who he is and says, "Oh no, you're Lord Kultur, aren't you?" And then Kultur's going, "Right, yeah, I'm going to make you disappear now," and he sort of kills him and then walks away. But it's quite good comic. Obviously, usual transformation things in it. It shows you what it comes with, and also comes with the little spec card. You know, little collector's card. It's made out of plastic. You can see it's nice and shiny. Credit card style. It's got a nice bit of art on the front, and it's got tech spec on the back, which, you know, strength 10, firepower 10, courage 9.5. You know, he's really strong. So that's that. So the tank mode. Now, the transformation on this thing is ridiculously simple, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing this review. So to transform him, best thing to do is a little bit of parts forming. You remove the turret. Now, the way I start is usually with the legs. So you untab this and that, and then you pull the whole bit down. Obviously, you get these gold bits here. You flip them out because they're his kneecaps, and they allow you to straighten out his legs. Separate the legs, then fold the tracks into the back of his legs, and then flatten his feet. And that's the legs done. Now, take the front part of the vehicle, bring it down. There's kind of a double hinge here. You've got to sort of, well, actually it's like a triple hinge. You have to sort of push it in, and then that's right, fold it down and then plug it into his chest. Then the arms, pull these bits out. The arms are on a double hinge. Well, actually, you know, it's better off to take these bits out first, like so. Turn them round and clip them into place. Then you take the arm that's on this hinge there, you fold that and straighten that out, and then you rotate that to face forward. Same on the other side. Take the track part, pull it out, rotate it round, click it in, and then straighten the arm, twist it forwards, and we're nearly there. And then you take this backpack. Well, it helps now if you get the figure and bend it forwards like that, and you pull this backpack back. Now there's these two pieces on the backpack which fold out, so you fold them out and round the back, and then there's a flap in the back which you open, and then you get the head, pull the head out, which is on like a double hinge thing, then shut the backpack up, push the backpack in, rearrange the bits, and then you are done. And there is Kultur in his robot mode, and wow, it's like he's jumped straight off the page. They've actually nailed the aesthetic on this guy. In some of the earlier panels, in some of the earlier comics, especially the bit where they're on the prison planet, and it's part of Skid's memories, because he had this really dark memory from his past of something that he did or something that happened to him that he was trying to repress, and he was on this prison planet which was run by Tarn, who was there the prison sort of superintendent, prison warden, and he was basically did a deal with Skids that he would free 50 prisoners if he worked for him to get some subsystem at the prison base working. But he was actually double crossing him, and he was basically making basically a pit that just destroyed everybody. And Tarn, in that comic, his tracks here are actually, they sort of run down his back like a cape instead of being bunched up on his shoulders. But in later panels on the Dying of the Light, he's pretty much got this aesthetic. So they did sort of evolve the design as it went along. And he's absolutely fantastic. He's super solid. I mean, now this guy, I got him as part of the third run of this figure, because this figure's been extremely popular and there's lots of people wanting to get it, and it sold out virtually instantly when it went on pre-order. So Mastermind Creations, in order to keep up with demand, I assume they've reissued it, and I got this on the third reissue. Now, as we know, when molds get used over and over again, as with Tomi Takara, you tend to get mold degradation, and the tolerances tend to get a bit loose. But this guy is absolutely solid as a rock. He doesn't move at all. Now, obviously, let's have a quick look at the articulation. He has got ball joints inside these shoulders with, as you can see, they're recessed inside these bits. Now, some have said that they do hamper articulation of the shoulders slightly. I mean, they do go all the way round, and they go up that far. And you've also got a little bit of flex backwards and forwards because they are on a ball joint. And there is a secondary joint inside the shoulder, which brings it a bit further in. But it can give you an extra. You can have the shoulders up a little bit higher, or you can bring them down. The head is on a pivot and a ball joint, so you can get him looking down quite far. Get a little bit of quizzical tilt. These little antennae can move from side to side. He has upper bicep swivels. He does have a double elbow, though to get it to work you have to bend the front first, the lower elbow joint first, then the upper one, in order to get like a deep curl. He does have wrist swivels. He has an ab crunch, really nice ab crunch. Has a waist joint, and his hips. I mean, obviously, his arms can go up that far. You can get a T-pose. His hips go the full splits. He's got ratcheted hips that go that far. Now, they don't go quite so far forward because there's a bit of a clearance issue, but if you tilt the leg, you can get it to go a bit further. Has upper thigh swivel. And then you've got the knee. Now, the knee does bend to 90, and then this gets in the way, but if you bend that out of the way, you can get the knees go all the way back. He does actually have a double knee. But, there's room for, fudging it. So he is very articulated on obviously the feet. He's got an ankle tilt, and he's got a toe joint. And he has quite large feet, so he does, stand extremely well, no matter what surface you put him on. So there we go. Now, I have got wind, even though I'm not on social media, I have got wind that people have been sort of whinging a little bit about the expense of this guy, and then when you get him in hand, the weight of him. Now, he is a wholly plastic figure. He is quite kind of weighty for a plastic figure, but then again, given that he's a plus £100 figure, people kind of expect die cast on a figure that's, you know, over £100, or at least a masterpiece grade figure. Now, Mastermind Creations aren't really known for doing die cast except on their Ocular Max line. For instance, I've got Ocular Max Jaguar here. I've just put the repo labels on, and he has got, you know, completely metal legs. He's got them metal bars as part of his middle bit, and he's, even though he's quite small, he's really heavy. Now, I paid over £100 for this. I got it on the, you know, the third run pre-order off Kapow, and I was looking at the prices on eBay for the scalpers prices, and I'm glad I got it that price. But then I saw that my mate Mr. Netclow is doing this guy for under £90. Anyway, back to Tarn. Yeah, no die cast, but I think, given the character that it is and how it looks in bot mode, I think I'm not really bummed the fact I paid £100 for it, over £100 for it. I would have liked to have paid less for it, but I'm not, no, I don't regret my decision. In fact, I really love this guy. I love him so much that, you know, he's one of the best bots I've bought this year, end of. Anyway, so obviously his fusion cannon, it plugs onto his arm. Now, it does, because of the bulk on his arm, it does kind of get in the way. You can't have it on the side of his arm and fold it up, but you can have it on his, peg it into his hand, and then he can hold it like that. And then if you turned it sideways, then you can have it coming off his arm like that. So there is ways round it, but then again, if you hold the arm straight, it will then, you know, he can hold it like that. So there is a little minor gripe there with the clearance issues. The fusion cannons do come off separately, and obviously they've got a peg which he can, so he can hold them in his hand. It's a 5mm peg, and he has got on his hand, he's got a separately articulated index finger, and the other 3 fingers are on a separate thing. But there you go, he can hold, he can double wield fusion cannons if he so wishes. And then obviously you can peg the sort of the turret thing on his back, like so. So he's got options. He's very articulated. The build quality on him is fantastic. He looks amazing in his bot mode. He looks absolutely fantastic. And the other thing that this guy does, and in the comic he does this a couple of times, but you only ever see his real face once. And again, spoiler territory, in Dying of the Light, issue 55, when, you know, Megatron goes out into the battlefield and he's fighting off the Decepticon hordes. This is after Tarn basically gets ravaged and just rips them in half. That gets Megatron into action, and he's fighting off the Decepticons. Then his fusion cannon gets destroyed by a sniper shot from Nickel and Voss. So he's basically unarmed and in the middle of this thrum of Decepticons, and they basically all come in for the kill. And then they're just about to do the coup de grace, and Megatron then sets up a panic shield, which so they can't get at him. Then the Autobots send out some sort of signal which affects Desirus, and he then, with Nickel, who's decided, you know, she doesn't agree with how to the extremes that Tarn has gone to, especially after he killed Kaon. So Tarn killed Kaon because, again, big spoiler territory. Which episode? Which issue was that? 52, issue 52. Basically, the first skirmish happens between the Autobots, well, between the Lost Light Crew, shall I say, and the Decepticons. And as a result of that, the pet gets kidnapped and held to ransom by the Autobots. Kaon is beside himself because he like, is besotted by the pet. And then on their ship, Tarn is in conference with Desirus and Overlord. And then Kaon comes in crying that they've got to go rescue the pet. Overlord is laughing his tits off at this, and Tarn hugs Kaon and then rips his head clean out with his spinal column and just kills him right there and then, just to prove that he is the complete and utter badass, and he's totally heartless, and he's all about, you know, killing these guys. But in the end, you know, when they're fighting Megatron, you know, gets them inside this sphere, and then Megatron releases. He channels the antimatter from a black hole out of himself, and then he destroys the DJD members one at a time, calling out their true names. And eventually, when he comes to Tarn, he does him last. And just at the moment when Megatron is about to be destroyed himself in this antimatter explosion, Rodimus warps into the bubble using the suitcase, the final suitcase, and then he drags him out just before the explosion. And Megatron and Rodimus survive, but then, you know, you'll have to read the rest of issue 55 to see what happens after that. But basically, the DJD died, except Nickel. Nickel walks away from the fight, as did Overlord. Overlord and Nickel had the sense to walk away from the fight and leave before the inevitable happened. But anyway, they've done a toy of Tarn. He is absolutely fantastic. He's amazing. I love the build quality on this thing. Yes, he's expensive. Yes, he hasn't got any die cast, but no, I can get over that. He's so well made. He's pretty big. Let's do some size comparisons. Obviously, let's do him next to Voss, or no, Synicus. Then next to Kaon or Anarchus. And obviously, it's, as I've got it here, next to Jaguar. And then another guy who I've often used for size comparisons in the past, I'd sort of put him away, but I found him again. Combiner Wars Megatron, who obviously is slightly oversized, but the Mastermind Creations are doing a Tarantron, which is an IDW Megatron, which is going to be scaled next to this. So you are going to be able to, recreate those meetings that they have in the comics. And yeah, the one last thing, obviously he has the face mask, and in the comic he takes it off twice. The first time you just see him remove the mask, but you don't actually see his face. And then the second time, Megatron rips his mask off in the final moments before calling out his true name, which is Glitch, before he destroys him. And this thing does have the removable faceplate, which actually Megatron then sticks on his chest before he gets pulled. Now, there was a lot of thought that this guy was actually Roller, but it turns out Roller turns up in the comics from somewhere else because he was rescued by the Necrobot and kept in stasis, and then he was revived. So, and we've got Tarn's face. It's very black. It's got red eyes, a little bit of moulded detail. Obviously, I haven't got a macro on my camera, but he has got a face under there, which is kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, he's a fantastic figure. If you're lucky enough to be able to get hold of this guy, he's well worth it. And if you've got the other two members of the Mastermind Creations DJD figures, then fantastic. Hopefully Mastermind Creations will finish the job and bring us Helix and Thesaurus as well. And I'm really hoping they're going to do the pet and Nickel as well as a 2-pack to finish off the line, because I want a toy of Nickel more than anything, even though she's going to be really, really small. I don't care. I just want a Nickel. Don't care how small it is. But yeah, Mastermind Creations Reformatted R-19 Kultur. He's brilliant, he's fantastic. I love this thing, it's amazing. And that has been my review of this guy. Hope you've enjoyed it. I don't usually do third-party figure reviews, but this guy I felt I needed to do it. So that's been it for now. Hopefully I will catch you next time, and I will see you all. Goodbye.